Hi, welcome back to See Ins Go. I've been wanting to do a proper video for some time, but honestly, things are crazy as usual. Even though I took yesterday and today off to try to content create, um, time really gets away from me. So my topic for today is a little bit more of vulnerability about myself. I think that I tend to present myself as put together, really confident, someone that just knows exactly what to do. And I'll say that like in aspects of my life, like aspects like this, sharing what I've been sharing with all of you, that does hold true. Well, at least that's what I feel about myself. But there's so much more that I'm struggling with across the board. And, some things that, so when I started this whole social media process, I knew that I would need to start becoming very honest with certain things about myself, and I had agreed to that. I thought that was a good idea. I thought that in a world where a lot of us are hiding our obesity and our struggles, like it is important for me to be very upfront and honest with people. So I knew that I had to be honest with sharing my weight, and it meant things like people in my personal life would know the exact number on the scale, and sure, there probably were ways I could have gone around it, but I knew the risk I was taking by being honest on social media, and I figured if I was going to do it, I should do it 100%. But even as I say that, I hadn't actually committed to 100%. I'll be really honest with you. There were parts of me that I just assumed I did not need to bleed into this space. And I think that it's really hard for me to be fully honest and vulnerable with everyone if I'm not sharing the whole story. So, I'm just gonna say it's something that I'm really working to accept about myself, even though I've known this for a decade. I struggle with ADHD. I was diagnosed at 26, very late, because I was really good at masking it, and I really, a lot of compensation strategies along the way to get through it. These days, 2 kids, a full-time job, responsibilities around the house, responsibilities to my husband, to others in my family, to my friends. I have started to really struggle with my ADHD symptoms. So if you're not very familiar with it, I'll tell you that apparently I didn't know enough about it. For a decade, I knew I had ADHD, but I just thought it only really mattered when it came to like studying and focusing at work. And I'm lucky enough that I was able to stay medicated, and so I got those benefits that I needed from that. But now I just have so much more to juggle in life, especially as soon as, my dear Aziz was born. Having to navigate 2 kids plus my own health, like that got very, very hard for me. That got very hard. And so much so that I started to deal with anxiety. So when I went in for my official diagnosis for ADHD, there was a whole process of testing to determine if that's really what I had or if there was something else. And what I learned was that the feelings of anxiety that I had for a lot of my life were really secondary. My anxiety got so bad at some points that I was also dealing with panic attacks, and it all turned out to be secondary to ADHD, to undiagnosed ADHD, and the stress and pressures of trying to cope with it without acknowledgement of what my real issue is, or of medication to support me. So I have a great example of why I had to pause and restart filming. As I'm standing here filming, I realized that, oh, I forgot my wedding rings, and I went to go get that. Then I remembered that I forgot to put away all the cold food from groceries that I brought back. I put some of it away, but I didn't finish. And then I realized after that that I didn't take my medicine. I didn't take my ADHD medicine, which explains why I was starting to slip on following the proper order of events and finishing my task that I started. While the medication does not solve that issue, it just means it happens a little less. So why am I kind of bringing that up in this weight loss space? One thing is that taking these GLP medications cleared my mind of food noise, as I've shared before. So what that means is that I was no longer thinking about food, and all of a sudden I had a lot more space to think about other things. What other things would you say I'm thinking of? What other things came up after that? Well, a lot of the ADHD struggles I was having with my executive functioning started to rear its ugly head for quite a bit, but I started to notice it since I wasn't as fixated on food anymore. At least not in a negative, unhealthy way. In a healthy way of what can I make to feed my family or feed my own body. So I started to, since I didn't feel like I needed self-help books, which I read I'm always reading a self-help book. I absolutely love that genre of books. I'm also always reading a book in general, but these days I'm reading two. One's usually a self-help book, and one is usually a book for one of the book clubs I'm a part of. Train of thought? Derailed. Anyway, so I now remember, I hopped on the right train. So the ADHD has a direct impact on weight loss, but I had no idea. Apparently, obsessive eating and obsessive thoughts and impulsive eating, difficulty with impulse control, if you put that into the context of food, I had never done that. So when I was diagnosed, it was before it was just considered ADHD. It was, you either had ADD, which meant you were not hyperactive, which a lot more females ended up under that category, or you had ADHD with the hyperactivity. So technically, I thought the hyperactive aspects did not apply to me. This year, after starting GLP-1 medication, being on my normal ADHD medication, and reading these self-help books about what it's like to have ADHD as an adult, I started to learn things about myself that I had no idea had something to do with my ADHD. I also do feel that it has to do with my hormones as well, which is why the GLP-1 is working so much better for me. If it was only the ADHD, I feel like I would have lost the weight much earlier when I had started these medications. While I did lose weight during that time, when I had first started the medication, that's the only other time I ever lost weight. I quickly gained it back because it wasn't about the appetite suppression that a lot of the stimulant medication offers you. It was something much more. And now we know it's the food noise aspect of it. Okay, so at this moment in time, my ADHD symptoms seem to be at its peak. Trying to support two very active toddlers going in many different directions while trying to understand what I need to do to take care of myself. It's been really hard managing these different tasks. Also, things that would probably take a non-ADHD individual just a portion of time to complete. It takes me a lot more time. So when you're already a parent to 2 toddlers, time is usually not on your side. Add in working full time, again, not on your side. And now all of a sudden, I'm trying to exercise on top of meal prep, and at the end of the day, I just can't juggle all these balls and something keeps dropping. So what keeps dropping? Household tasks. And I, for the most part, have come to accept that. Like, I recognize that my priority right now really needs to be the health, the weight loss, and moving forward with that. Except now I'm hyper fixated on sharing my journey and process and knowledge on social media. So when I probably should be doing something else, I'm here talking with you guys. So just, this all plays in on how I engage with all of you as well, in terms of some of my content kind of seems all over the place because that is my mind, that is me in a nutshell. So I figured it was honestly time that I was sharing that aspect of myself with all of you. It was a very hard decision to do that right now because I really thought I could get away without sharing. I struggle with a lot of shame about my ADHD diagnosis, mostly because I spent a lot of my life masking it, trying to hide how hard of a time I was having, keeping up with my peers. And I also spent a lot of my childhood hearing that I was just lazy, or I just couldn't focus and see it, pay attention, stop daydreaming. Why can't you get your work done like your brother can? Why can't you, why are you still doing your homework? All of your friends are done and they're outside playing, you know? So these are things that I grew up struggling with and has felt like my identity until I learned about ADHD. I did not learn enough about ADHD when I should have, because as an adult, like, I just really did not have those resources that I wish I did. There's a lot more resources now. Like, there's a wonderful YouTube channel that I'm learning even more from. There's these great books that I'm trying to, you know, just get myself on track with. And also, like, mental health awareness, recognizing that due to my current state of being, my anxiety has crept back, and talking with my primary care provider and coming up with a new medication plan and structure, which is all complicated with GLP-1 medication as well. You know, making sure that that is not playing in with my mood. That it's really independent of this medication. GLP, specifically tirzepatide, is still newer than semaglutide, so it's important to be very mindful of any new symptoms that arise that can't be associated with anything else. But the reality is that I've been struggling since my son was born, which is a year before I had started any weight loss medication, so it's really not about that. A year and a half before I started any weight loss medication. I just have been on this journey to take care of myself, and due to that, I'm finally advocating for myself in all aspects, not just about my weight or my ADHD. So yeah, that's a little bit off topic, but also somewhat on topic, because it's really hard to be an adult struggling this badly with ADHD, especially when I struggle to share my diagnosis with the outside world, in fear of what people might think that means of me, that it might make people feel like I can't perform at the level that I believe I can perform at, whether it's about work or friends or whatever it might be. I realized that like because of the medication, I can get by in a lot of ways. So there are a lot of very close friends of mine that I'm not even sure know that I have ADHD, or if they remember that I was diagnosed, because I just have not been talking about it. But if I am to truly take this journey to health, I need to accept all pieces of me, not just the one aspect that is going right, but also the aspect of me that's really struggling right now. I didn't think I'd get emotional saying that, but it's been really hard, because one of the things about having ADHD is that you have a hard time managing your time. And I just feel like it's really hard to get everything I need to get done to be the parent I want to be. And that bleeds into like so many other things because of that. And it's also been hard because I've recognized a lot of things about one of my sons that make me feel like he might be going down the same path. Of course, the difference is that he has parents that have a lot more understanding of ADHD than I had growing up, or you know, my parents just didn't have those resources to have that understanding anyway. Plus, being a part of an Indian culture, there's just a different mentality about ADHD, a different acceptance of it. But I find myself saying things to my son like, Ezra, stop daydreaming. Pay attention. Why aren't you hearing me? Why is this taking you so long? And it's really frustrating to deal with that, because you just want to move things along. And then there's this aspect of like heartbreaking, because you know that he is not doing this intentionally. You know that because you're not doing it intentionally. And it's essentially like, I'm guessing that's why it's been a little bit extra hard these days for me, because I'm having to come face to face with what it must be like for other people when they are trying to work with me. Even if they love me, it's still really, really frustrating. And trying to navigate how to support my son without jumping the gun and assuming that that's definitely his story. I mean, he's so young right now, you know. He's so young right now. There's a lot to still be figured out. But I just see so much in him that I know about myself growing up. So it's hard to imagine that there's really a totally different path in store for him, but anyway, that is what I wanted to chat with all of you about. How I'm truly, you know, struggling in this process, because I'm so excited to lose this weight, to get healthier, to focus on myself, but it's such a hard time to do that. The guilt of what I should be doing instead with my time. And then on top of it, me creating this content and the time it takes me to create the content because of my ADHD. You know, I'll talk to other creators and they'll tell me like, oh, I don't understand, you know, just do something really quick and just get it out. that's hard. It's really hard for someone with ADHD to do. We can be impulsive and excited and take care, you know, but due to the lack of pre-planning and the difficulty with the hardship of following through, it gets tougher to cross that finish line at the proper speed that you should. So I'm trying to balance that and the aspect of me loving so many different things, which means that I now have so many different social media spaces that I'm supporting, and honestly, I don't really know what I'm doing about any of that as I keep getting a new place that I'm trying to build up. Threads, now I have a Facebook page that I really haven't done anything more than put together the initial profile. I created a Pinterest a couple days ago, and I'm still my big focus is my blog and hopefully making more space for YouTube than I have been doing. I just feel like I'm able to just connect a lot more on this forum and share a little bit more details about what's going on in this process. Whew, okay, well anyway, if any of you made it out this far, will you do me a favor and put a comment in this post and tell me your favorite flower? I should probably come up with something before this moment, but as you see, I'm wearing flowers, and I figured this is a good way to get to know what all of your favorite flowers are. And if you want to share what makes your journey really difficult, it doesn't need to be the same thing as mine, or maybe you don't have any difficulty and you're actually able to just push through right now with the help of GLP-1 medication, and that's amazing. That's amazing. I really wish I was able to do this in my early 20s. Of course, by wishing that, what my current life is like wouldn't be here, so I only passively wish that. But the reality is just that I need to find a way to prioritize myself while still doing all the other things that I'm responsible for doing, and most importantly, supporting my children along the way as well, and being a better partner to my husband, because if I'm wasting too much time content creating, I'm not holding up my end of the household chores. So this is me signing off to try to get some kind of dinner ready for my family. And until next time, bye.